So you're thinking about moving to the Houston area and you'd like to know what are some places I can actually get to that aren't too far away. I've actually got 3 places that you can get to in about 3 hours from Houston, Texas. Let's jump right into it. Place number 1 is Gruene, Texas. You can get to Gruene from about 2.5 to 3 hours from Houston, Texas, and it's a great place to go and float a river. If you've never done this before, maybe you live in another state, the Guadalupe River is very cold, even on a hot day, so it's super refreshing. You can bring your own drinks, your own coolers, your own tubes if you want, but if you don't have any of those things, that's okay. It's about $25 per person to float the river and to have a shuttle bring you back to the beginning so you can get to your car. If you've got your own tubes, which I highly recommend because they're not that expensive, then it actually brings the cost down to only $10 a person, and you can just plop your tube right there at the beginning of the river and hang out for as long as you want all day long. When we go, we actually like to bring snacks and things for us to eat, but sometimes if we forget that, I always recommend stopping at a local restaurant in Gruene, Texas. The Gristmill is the one that I always think of. Great southern food if you're in the area before you head back to Houston. Next up on our list is Fredericksburg, Texas. Fredericksburg is about 3 hours from Houston, and it is actually wine country. So you may have heard of Napa Valley in California. Well, Texas has its own Napa Valley, and that is Fredericksburg. It's a cool place to stop through if you just want to check out the old town. There's a lot of historical buildings. A lot of what was built originally is still there, so it's really cool to kind of go check out history, things like that. There's some great old restaurants there. We recommend stopping at the Old German Bakery. Oh my gosh, guys, if you've never had a kolache, look, I know pigs in a blanket exists in other places. You've not had something like this. The kolaches here are out of this world. I recommend getting the jalapeno cheese and sausage kolache. It is amazing. And I also recommend getting an almond ring. Guys, this thing is nuts. It's got raisins, it's got cinnamon, it's just, you have to get one. They are so good. So make sure you stop by the Old German Bakery and get yourself something to eat. While you're in Fredericksburg, you have to check out the wineries. The cool thing is they're all kind of along one strip of road. You can actually take a bus tour that will shuttle you between wineries so that you can try out different wines at different places. Some of them have experiences and tours. We actually did Pedernales Cellars. I know that there's some confusion on how you actually say that. I say Pedernales. I think other people from the other say Pedernales. Either way, they gave us a great tour a couple years ago when we went. That was super awesome, just getting to see the whole process from beginning to end of how they actually make their wine. And then we actually stopped by a place called Six Shooters and we got to try mead. Now, if you've never had mead before, you are missing out. Mead is actually made from honey, and so it is fermented, kind of like wine is, but it has a very different flavor profile. I think it is delicious. It's something that like old Vikings would have drank, and so I think it's really cool. If you've never had mead before, you have to go check out Six Shooters and try some mead from Texas Mead. It's really good. If you are still in the area of Fredericksburg, just 20 minutes outside of Fredericksburg is actually Enchanted Rock. Now, Enchanted Rock is a hike that you can do. It takes about 2 to 3 hours. It's almost 5 miles of hiking. There is no tree coverage, so just keep that in mind. It's better to do it early in the day or later in the evening, but it actually is a high point that allows you to kind of look over the surrounding areas. You probably have already realized we don't really have mountains in Houston, but the closest thing that we do have is the hill country, kind of San Antonio, Austin. So Austin actually does have a mountain. If you go far northwest in Texas, there are some mountains as you get into the beginning of the Rockies, but for most of us Houstonians, there's really no mountains. Definitely recommend checking out Enchanted Rock if you're in the Fredericksburg area. And one thing that we love to do whenever we come to areas like this, like Fredericksburg, we actually like to stay for the night. So you can see the place that's behind me. This is actually an Airbnb that we decided to stay at while we were here. That's in Kerrville. Kerrville is about 30 minutes outside of Fredericksburg, but it's a beautiful cabin. It's so peaceful out here. I love how things are made out of like rock and stone in this area. We just don't see as much of that in Houston real estate, but here you see it all the time, and everything's on like hills and all the roads are kind of winding. It's just a really cool place. So I actually recommend checking out this cottage. It's a great place to rent out should you be in the Fredericksburg area. And last but certainly not least, Austin as our third place that you can get to within 3 hours of Houston. Austin is obviously the state capital of Texas, so it's got tons of history. We actually like to go and get into Barton Springs. It's actually a municipal pool, but it's a true spring, so it's cold. There's nothing like it. It's really cool. There's kind of a park that surrounds it, so check out Barton Springs. You have Zilker Park nearby. There's always shops and restaurants and markets and different things that are going on. They do concerts out there, so you've got to go check out Zilker Park. We actually like renting scooters whenever we get there so that we can actually zip around and see a whole lot more of the city. It is way more convenient than needing to try to drive around and fight with traffic, and I think it's actually a cool way to see the city because you get to see it from a different angle. You get to go across bridges and just pull over and take a look and look over the side. It's so cheap to actually get a scooter, so I would recommend trying that out. If you've never been to Austin, you actually reserve it on your phone and you're off to go, and it's actually really cheap for just a few hours of being able to ride around. Now, one of the places that we always stop at, I don't really know why we started this tradition, but every time we go to Austin, we always stop at El Alma. It's such a great Tex-Mex place. They've got awesome margaritas, and I am very, very big on my margaritas. They have got to be good. I don't like your kind of typical really sweet, tons of syrup, mixers, sweet and sour. I like real margaritas, and I feel like El Alma has got the science down. They've got really good ones. Their ceviche is out of this world. So good. So if you need a place to go and stop and eat, I recommend El Alma. We've been there every single time that we go to Austin, and we are never disappointed. If you are in Austin, definitely check out the nightlife. There are so many bars and restaurants you can go to where they're playing live music. You've got everything from rock and country to jazz and blues. It is just an experience to just walk through the streets, grab a slice of pizza as you're out, stop into different places and bar hop. I think that's one of the coolest parts about the Austin scene is the music. We have so many great musicians who've come from Austin, and so I think that legacy and that culture lives on. So if you're in the Austin area, take part in it, enjoy some great music, enjoy some great food and great drinks, and have an amazing time while you're there. All right, guys, those are 3 places you can get to within 3 hours of Houston. If you've got other recommendations for places that people should try, leave a comment down below and let us know what other stuff you enjoy doing with your family. If you're not living in the Houston area currently and you're thinking of relocating, definitely send me a message. I'm a real estate agent. I've lived there my whole life. I have the knowledge and experience to help make that as smooth of a transition as possible, and I'd love to help you and your family call Houston home. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.